Good afternoon. Welcome to the tea table. I am so happy you have joined me today. We are celebrating the Christopher Columbus holiday in 1492, October 12th. Christopher Columbus discovered America. Yes. Remember the song, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, found America in 1492. So, if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please pause and get your tea. I will be waiting for you. And I have a spectacular tea set to show you. What I would imagine Christopher Columbus would have perhaps had tea when he went to visit Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand in Spain, remember? He had a hard life, but he had a good life. He had a tremendous life. He was a man who did not give up. He is an example of what we talk about on the Tea Talk, the power of one, having a vision, following through, dreaming, praying, going for it, and not giving up. Yes, he had gone all around looking for people to help him because it was so expensive. And he needed boats to take. This was a trip going on an uncharted ocean. We must remember, this is before Sir Francis Drake that we talked about, who went sailing under Queen Elizabeth I and mapped all of the sea. Those maps are still used today. He was the first one that circumvented the globe and put the maps out. Well, Christopher Columbus didn't have that advantage, no. He only had hearsay that there was a land and it was across the, leaving from Europe and Great Britain and sailing west. People had never done that. Well, they had done it. The Vikings had done it, and Saint Bredon had done it. But that was something that was unknown, and it was not mapped. It was just talk and lore. Well, Christopher Columbus, he felt like God was calling him. He literally had a dream. His name means Christ follower, Christopher, and Columba means dove, the same name as one of our favorite saints we've talked about in church history in the 4th century, Saint Columba. Now, and then remember, he was in Scotland, in Iona. But Christopher Columbus is sailing in the 1400s. We are in the midst of a Renaissance in Italy, in Florence. There's all the excitement. There's Michelangelo is painting, and we have all the inventions. We have all of the Renaissance means new life. And it was a time of movement. And he had gone to the Italian leaders and they couldn't help him. And then he went to Portugal and they couldn't help him. But Queen Isabella, she was an astute woman and she saw something in him. She said to her husband, "This is a great man." They were in the middle of a war. The Moors from the south were coming into Spain and they were desperate to win this battle. And she said to Christopher Columbus, "If we win the battle, I will give you an offering." And true to her word, the Moors were defeated in Spain, and this was very big. Spain was Catholic. All of the then known world was Christian, and they were basically under Rome at that point. This is before Reformation. 1491, Martin Luther is a little boy, and he doesn't go to Germany and nail this thesis until 1517, remember. So this is about 25 years before the Reformation. And so you have one church ruling. However, the Moors were coming, and they were coming from the Middle East. And the Moors represented Muhammad and the Muslim. And if they would have taken Spain, they would have done there what they had done in all the southern, below that, the cities of Christendom. Remember, they had taken Constantinople, and they took the beautiful church Hagia Sophia that Constantine had envisioned, and it was built in his honor, and they turned it into a mosque and painted all the icons black, painted over the stained glass. It's a mosque to this day. And they also took Alexandria, which was another Christian center of worship, and the library was plundered. And the monks and the priests grabbed as many books as they could and went up on a boat across the Mediterranean and hid them in Florence and in parts of Italy, because that was the greatest library in the world. Well, when the Moors came to Alexandria, they took it, and they still have it. And that was that was one of the 5 centers of Christianity in the Middle Ages, in the early church. Yes, you had Jerusalem, Rome, Constantinople, as you had Alexandria, and I always want to say Samaria, but it isn't Samaria. But there were 5 centers, and all of them were taken except Rome, and Jerusalem was being fought back and forth, and that's what the Crusades were about. It went back and forth, but it was a very difficult and very dangerous time. And so Isabella was not just fighting for Spain, they were fighting for the church. And so they were in prayer. And I have a fabulous book I want to show you. And this has been 2 years ago, I had it on the Tea Talk. And it's called Columbus and Columbia. Okay, might be hard to see, but it was published in 1891 for the Chicago World's Fair, one of the first great World's Fairs, and was called the Columbia Exhibition, celebrating 400 years of Christopher Columbus. That's what the theme was. Well, I've talked about that fair many times, but there are pictures in this book, and I wanted to find the one of Isabella. See if I can find it. But she literally dresses in battle armament. Now, she's a queen, okay? But she dresses in battle armament and goes out and stands in prayer, and they defeat the Moors. And so she goes right into the battle, not the front of the battle, but the battle with her husband. And in those days, the king and queen went to the battle. And they defeated the Moors. Spain was saved. She gave her offering to Columbus, and off he sailed. And, well, let's have our tea. Now, I'm going to show you what I have on the tea. This is, I thought, we'll have the cups that represent the world. They have the old world map on them. One for you, one for me. And because Christopher Columbus is Italian, we'll have biscotti, because they're very hard cookies. These are very hard. These are the real thing. And they would have stayed very nicely on the boat. Well, this is a little boat tea set. The top is sugar. The next is cream. And I'm going to pour out. My sun is going up and down. I don't know, I'm probably in the shadows. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to be out. Can you see that beautiful I love the heat. Okay, let's have a cup of tea. And we'll pour a little bit of cream in it. I know I'm in the dark now. The sun changed. I'm sorry. Oh boy. And my is really full. I'll see if I can get back in the light there. I can snatch a little bit of light there. I'm wearing purple and gold and royal, and I have purple. I don't know if you can see in my hair, because I'm thinking that's what the royal kings and queens were wearing, and they were when they sent Christopher Columbus out, and they gave him a fabulous feast and sent him out. No one knew what was going to happen. No one quite. Christopher Columbus, though, he had faith. He was a true leader. And he went through many, many difficult, oh my goodness, so many difficult times. He had the men come up against him. Okay, and then he had he lost part of his ship, and then he had, like I said, rebellion. And you had these terrible, incredible situations, but he knew that he had to overcome. Okay, I'm going to show you, this is one picture. This is the famous painting of Christopher Columbus taking possession of the New World. And he comes with banners and a cross and prayer. I don't know if you can see that. It's a beautiful painting. And then the next picture is when he goes back to Queen Isabella and Ferdinand, and there he goes back. This book is extremely heavy, but this World's Fair 1491 was so important in America, and people came from literally all over the world, and it lasted a long time. It had the first Ferris wheel, the invention of Cracker Jacks. I'm going to see if I can pull this forward. I can get a little bit better light. I don't know if that's going to help. A little bit. Oh my goodness. I'm really in the shadows. The sun went down over my house, and I guess I'll just have to leave it this way. There's a little boat out there. But I kind of wanted you to see this purple and gold, and I have purple in my hair, but I think you saw it at the beginning, so you just have to go with it. But I brought along a little purse that I thought would be something like Queen Isabella would have, like a little Renaissance purse. It's so pretty. It's got all the colors in it, green and gold and black. It's made of fabric. You know, anyone can actually make a little purse and put strings. That's what they were, and then they would tie them on their side. Boy, this sun is gone. Why did you go away, Mr. Sun? I'm just too late today, I guess. But I wanted to show you this. This is St. Brendan's boat. And St. Brendan, we talked about this before. He went on a boat with his monks, and this was way back. And let me get my glasses, and I will actually give the correct pronunciation. It was a skin-covered boat, and he went in the sea with a crew in the 6th century. A crew of 4 discovered America 1,000 years before Columbus. And this is in the Irish lore. This is St. Brendan. Isn't that fascinating? My husband gave me this plaque for my gift for graduating from seminary, and I love it. It's on my piano. It's made in Ireland, in Kinsale, Cork, and it is just so beautiful because it's a reproduction of beautiful St. Brendan, and he's one of the Irish saints, you know, right in there with Patrick and Ninian and Finnegan and St. Columba, my special person I feel so close to. And when the World's Fair happened, Christopher Columbus, it was such a big deal. They literally built canals. If you go to Chicago and you go like to the Museum of History and Industry sitting on Lake Michigan, or the beautiful other museums there, that's all part of that World's Fair. But it was much bigger than that. They had canals and they had people coming like Egyptians. They had every country represented. They had so much. They had this Lady Liberty, and here she's on the front of this book, if you can see. That's Lady Liberty, a big statue. And I believe that she is in the Congress of the United States in Statuary Hall. That's what I believe. But I would highly recommend, you can, I had read all this in a book, and then my daughter was so fascinated. She had been studying more than me about it, and she told me there is so much. There's a documentary, and it goes hours and hours, because Thomas Edison came, brought electricity. Ford came with his cars. It was the beginning of the first time people had really seen electricity to light up whole buildings. I mean, this is 1891, and so it was projecting, it was really showing what the 20th century was going to be. Do you see that boat out there behind me? That's the crab boat. He comes every day to get the oysters. There's a lot of oysters around here. Oh my goodness, you people are so special. I love all of you so much, and it was so fun having my darling grandson, Ezra, last week, and now he has taken off like Christopher Columbus. I said, we sent him off on Sunday, and I baked him chocolate chip cookies and made his favorite dinner, and I said, I feel like I'm sending you off like Christopher Columbus, because he's going on adventures. He wants to climb some mountains, and then he's going to end up in California and work for one of his uncles, Uncle Daniel. And then he's going up to Arizona to see his sister. So he's on an adventure. Adventure is an adventure, and it doesn't matter. Boy, I'm in the shadows. Oh, well, we're here together, but it's so pretty. The sun was out, and I was going to do it inside, but I thought, Christopher Columbus, we need the sea as a backdrop for him. And I have these dahlias. They're a little bit on the faded side, but I've kept them because I think I'm going to dry them, and they're just so beautiful in this green vase, if you can see that yellow and red. I don't think you can see. Well, probably next week we'll be inside, or I'll get a better lighting situation. But I want us all, Monday is Columbus Day, and I believe we need to honor Christopher Columbus. This was someone that had done something that had never been done. And when, he brought back gold and brought back all sorts of he brought back a monkey that to Queen Isabella they had never seen, and Spain started becoming very, very wealthy, because then they sent more people out. Cortez went out, and all the other explorers went to South America, and they got all this gold. And that's where that Philip of Spain, in the next century, he's so wealthy that he wants to rule the world, and he really starts a war with England. And that's when Sir Francis Drake, the Spanish, they had all these fancy Spanish Armada boats, and Francis Drake came in the little British vessels and defeated the Armada, and then took that gold and went to England. And that's really how Queen Elizabeth became so wealthy and able to go around the world. And out of that, much occurred. The Reformation happened in England, and the Bible was printed in England, and the Bible was given to the people because that hadn't happened before. And that's another long story that we will talk about someday in the Tea Talk. But all of these little jewels of history relate, because we're talking now 1491 and 1491 he got permission. 1492 he sails. Okay, fast forward in the 1515, right around there, you have an Englishman named William Tyndale who is translating the whole Bible into English. And he's taking the whole Bible, had never been done. Parts of it had been done. Wycliffe had tried it, but it was in Old English. But this was in the speaking of, he said, I want every plowman, that's the people that are out in the field, they were illiterate, they couldn't read, I want every plowman to have a New Testament in his pocket. Well, William Tyndale, that was very radical to translate a Bible and try to give it to people, and he was burned at the stake. But his dying words were, open the eyes of the King of England. And the eyes that were opened were, within a very short period of time, this is all in the same period, Henry VIII decided to become the head of the church and became Protestant and made England Protestant, and then he published a Bible. Basically, he took the Bible that they had put together and he kind of put his name on it, but it really was the work of William Tyndale. And it originally went, a man named Cloverdale, when William Tyndale was burned at the stake, grabbed all the manuscripts and fled to Geneva, where John Calvin was, and they codified it into what they called the Geneva Bible. But really, it was William Tyndale's work. He was a brilliant scholar, beautiful soul. Oh my goodness, he's worth studying. And then that Bible came to England, and that's the Bible that the Pilgrims had on their boat when they came in 1620. But that's the Bible also that William Shakespeare was reading and based so many of his plays on. He said, without the Bible, I would have had almost none of my, it gave, what happened when they got the Bible, it's so hard for us to understand this, but within a short period of time, people go from being completely illiterate, unable to read or write, to reading and writing and understanding. And it empowers them. They become free thinkers, free people. You can't control people that can read and write and understand. And they wanted freedom, and that's where the whole movement, the Reformation, the emergence of the middle class, the emergence of the merchant class, the emergence of people having faith to know they could do something more than just be a peasant under a lord. And we talked about this before many times on the Tea Talk, but to understand pre-Reformation, because we're going now into the Reformation. The end of this month is Reformation Day, and pre-Reformation, the Middle Ages, I can describe it to you what life was like. It's a chessboard. You have a king and a queen, they have power. You have bishops, they have power, they have money. You might have a knight, he works his way up through his brilliance and his giftedness and his athleticism. But then, what is mostly on the chessboard? Pawns. Yeah, that's what most of the people are, because they're under the lord of the manor. They don't have private ownership. They don't read, they don't write. And that all changes right at this period. Christopher Columbus discovers America. Shakespeare writes all his plays. Martin Luther is bringing the Protestant Reformation to Europe, translating the Bible into German, giving Germany a written language. They didn't have a written German, they had a spoken German. Then you have the printing press. Gutenberg invents the printing press so that you can actually print the Bibles. Everything comes together. This is the most exciting time in history. I love this era. Renaissance, Reformation, and then my favorite thing is teaching the fruit and the flower of the Reformation, which is the freedom and beauty and the order that we have. America. You wouldn't have an America. You wouldn't have ever had people fleeing a country in the size of a bath-sized boat to go to worship God in freedom. That's because they were very intelligent. They had a Bible. The Pilgrims and the Puritans were basically Oxford scholars. John Robinson, who led them, he was an Oxford scholar. And that was because they had the Bible. Yes, the people. Everybody then eventually in early American, they said everyone would have a Fox's in their home, a Fox's Book of Martyrs, which is a history book of church history. They would have a Bible, and they would have the Pilgrim's Progress, which came later. That's John Bunyan. Well, this has been a really fun tea talk, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I love being with you people, and I really encourage just a really good way to study Columbus. There are good documentaries. There's an old movie on Columbus too. If you can't, but read a book, it's even better, in Wikipedia, and go through everything he went through. He went through so much. And there's been many, many, many biographies of Christopher Columbus. But then on this World's Fair, when they celebrated 1491, honoring Christopher Columbus, it's just the most phenomenal fair. The only thing that had been great before that, well, they had the English fair. Remember, Prince Albert built that beautiful glass building, and it was called the Crystal Palace, and he had people come. It was kind of the first World's Fair. Well, then before this fair, there was the Paris exhibition, when you had the Eiffel Tower. Mr. Eiffel built the Eiffel Tower. But the Chicago World's Fair was the first American, and they wanted to do something so great, and they truly did. So you can be proud of your country and proud of a wonderful man like Christopher Columbus, who gave his all. He loved God. He wrote in his journals. He wrote prayers. He gave glory to God. And he was an extremely dedicated person. And I just love studying about these great people. It helps us be strong. When you look at the things they've overcome, our problems get little and God gets big. And that's what I think. I think when you see either reading scripture or prayer or studying about these great people, suddenly you see, wow, my problems are little. If they could solve that problem and they could make it, we can make it too. Yes. Biography is a powerful, strengthening, wonderful, wonderful tool. So God bless. And next time I'll try to be in the light for you wonderful people that I love. And please share, please notify if you haven't, and please sign up for my Tea Talk. You can just subscribe. It's all free. We do this strictly for fun. And if you like it, like it. And I appreciate your comments so much. Your comments. And if you want to have a subject discussed that we haven't covered, just tell me. And so I'm going to show you again the beautiful tea. I just think silver is so nice. They've always had silver because it kept the tea hot. You know, silver has something wonderful. It keeps drinks or food hot, And it also keeps them cold. Like if you served ice cream in a silver dish, it will not melt as fast. So, and I think these little cups really signify, because when Christopher Columbus came back, he had drawn maps. And those maps then went on to the next cartographer, they're called, and then the next one, until they finally, Francis Drake, just 100 years later, was able to draw the map of the whole globe. And then later Captain Vancouver came and he mapped this whole west coast, and his maps are still used to this day. They were that good. We have a rich heritage, and it's our responsibility to know our heritage, and part of it is definitely Christopher Columbus. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Have fun with your family, and don't forget to share a cup of tea. Thank you so much. God bless.